Coming up, really ringing it out, and you can do it too if you want. Fighting fatigue and getting a better night's sleep, a flywell report, and a do-it-yourself 707 sim you really won't quite believe. AOPA Live This Week begins in just a moment. First week of FAA furloughs and Congress is ticked. The airlines are suing and airline passengers are fuming on the tarmac. In general aviation, well, we can always go VFR. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Haynes. Thanks for watching AOPA Live This Week. Control towers remain open, but the folks working in them and the TRACONs and centers are taking forced days off. On any given day, some 1,500 controllers are out on furlough. They aren't getting paid and they aren't working traffic. And if they aren't pushing tin, stands to reason things are slowing down somewhere.
You know, the furlough effects, just based on what we've seen in the first week, have been primarily at the commercial airports. The major delays have been at the 3 New York areas, JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, and then in LA, it's been at LAX. We aren't seeing any significant impacts at the GA satellite airports yet.
So far, the FAA says there have been 1,200 delays each day due to staffing issues. That translates to airline passenger delays of anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours. So what should you do as a GA pilot to avoid getting hung up?
The main thing that our pilots, that general aviation pilots, should be doing is really the thorough pre-flight to understand, and they can actually go out to the command center's website and take a look at the system delays. An airspace flow program, a ground delay, all of those delays are shared through the FAA's command center website. Stick to those satellite airports if you can remain outside a metroplex, or avoid the larger airports where you have most of your commercial traffic. You're better served to continue using those smaller general aviation airports or go VFR.
Meanwhile, 11 aviation groups, including AOPA, have sent a letter to the White House. They want the administration to give the FAA the flexibility to move funds around so that the agency doesn't have to furlough controllers. Rockets and GA don't mix, and that's why AOPA is wading into a draft environmental impact study on a proposed rocket launch facility. SpaceX wants to build a spaceport near Brownsville, Texas. There are 5 airports within 20 nautical miles of the proposed launch pad, including Brownsville South Padre Island International. Each rocket launch could generate a TFR around South Padre Island. The FAA wants to know what you think about that. To find out how to have your voice heard by the feds, head to aopa.org and click on the Advocacy tab. But if the idea of spaceflight intrigues you, there is one place where civilian pilots can train for the rigors of launch. If the Phoenix Centrifuge and Gyro Lab flight simulator don't make your head spin quite fast enough, you can experience hypoxia firsthand inside the National Aerospace Training and Research Center's altitude chamber just outside of Philadelphia. AOPA Live's Jim Moore recently visited NASTAR to find out what it's like to go through the ringer.
Southampton, Pennsylvania is a place where pilots are shaken and stirred.
Yeah, what we do here is we train for extreme environments. We train for high performance flight, for loss of control in flight situations, all of those emergency and extreme flight scenarios. So this is the NASTAR Phoenix Centrifuge. It's currently the world's most high-performance human centrifuge and flight simulator in the world. It replicates the G-forces of flight, plus all the motion and the visual environment as well. This bad boy is rated to about 25 G. It can accelerate from where it's currently at to 3/4 around the room, 3/4 of the way around the room, from 1 to 10 Gs in 1 second.
All kinds of pilots come to the NASTAR Center to train in the centrifuge behind me and the other simulators they have here.
Military and civilian pilots, including corporate pilots, come here to get the feel for extremes.
I've done other upset recovery training programs, but it's been in a level D simulator, and you don't get that G experience, which I think is really critical to performing that maneuver properly. You really have to experience the G.
Charbonneau, a member of the NBAA Safety Committee, launched his aviation career in the Canadian military, but not every pilot in his flight department has that background.
We also have some pilots that have come up through general aviation that have never really had an opportunity to fly a large airplane outside of the normal flight envelope. So I think for those guys, this is really critical, important training. And I think for military guys, it's essential training to refresh those skills.
Along with upset recovery and extremely unusual attitudes, NASTAR Center can also suck the oxygen right out of your body.
This is the altitude chamber here. You will go into it this afternoon for your altitude physiology course. It goes up to about 100,000 feet, a little bit higher than that. And we've got two different chambers here. So we have the 12-person chamber and a 4-person lock. So for the course that you'll do this afternoon, you're going to go to 25,000 feet and experience the symptoms of hypoxia and take you right to the edge so that you're understanding your own physiological limitations.
Experience hypoxia just once and you learn your body's unique response to it and are prepared to recognize it if it happens in the air. It also drives home the point that even at piston altitudes, lack of oxygen can impair vision and decision-making. At 25,000 feet, I had all of the cognitive power and judgment that I had as a kindergartner. Rapid decompression from 41,000 feet was also educational. It pays to keep that mask handy.
Switches forward. Everybody give me a thumbs up. Recovered? Everybody recovered? Welcome to the world of RD. Very good, gentlemen.
At the NASTAR Center in Southampton, Pennsylvania, I'm Jim Moore, AOPA Live.
Training at the NASTAR Center costs much less than flight time, ranging from a $500 course in altitude awareness, including the hypoxia experience, or $2,500 for upset recovery training. Visit AOPA online for details and links. Coming up after the break, fighting fatigue, and you might need to lose a little weight to win, and your own 707 right in your own den. AOPA Live This Week continues in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live This Week. And no, we haven't been furloughed. Have you ever been tempted to close your eyes just for a moment while in flight? A cat nap may be just the thing for pilots, when they're on the ground, that is. A safety advisor from the AOPA Air Safety Institute explains that a power nap can be an effective way to regain your edge. Fighting Fatigue lists some more tips on how to deal with that overwhelming need to sleep before you take the controls. You can find it and many more safety advisors at AOPA.org. Click on the Training and Safety tab, then on Air Safety Institute. But sometimes fatigue is due to more than simple lack of sleep. In this edition of Fly Well, Dr. Jonathan Sakier explains that.
As a nation, we are getting progressively bigger. Poor diets, lack of exercise, and so on are taking their toll. Most people get the impact this has. Never mind the social effects. What about heart disease, stroke, cancers, joint degeneration, and other medical problems? Just look around at the mall, airport, or movie theatre. Well, in addition to these real and serious threats to health, there's another insidious and mounting problem: obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA as we abbreviate it. What is apnea? In the simplest terms, not breathing. And that's not good, right? The commonest cause of obstructive sleep apnea is obesity. Basically, fatty tissue in the airway obstructs the flow of air, and this results in a rather obnoxious and untuneful series of noises that you and I call snoring. Sometimes after several noisy snorts, and on occasion during sleep, the unfortunate sleeper momentarily cannot get any oxygen into their lungs and bloodstream. Levels of carbon dioxide rise, and the brain sends a message: take a deep breath now, buddy, or we are going down hard. The sleeper makes a cacophonous noise as they gasp air in, and their bed partner leaps out of sleep. Net result? Both parties wake up feeling unrested. The snorer may have a tendency to doze off during the day, sometimes at inopportune moments such as when driving or, heaven forbid, flying. If you've been told that you snore, you feel weary during daytime despite having been in bed for hours, are overweight, have a neck greater than 17 inches, a family history of diabetes, heart disease, or are just concerned, see your doctor. Maybe losing weight will help, or maybe avoiding alcohol or heavy meals before bed. Your doc will likely recommend a sleep study where a special monitor, a polysomnograph, will measure periods of disturbed breathing during sleep. If you have OSA, treatment can be effective either by surgically excising the excess fatty tissue in your throat or using a CPAP machine at night that effectively keeps your airway open by pumping air in. Flying with an OSA diagnosis is possible, but requires your AME having data that shows that you're compliant with the therapy and are not likely to fall asleep at the wheel or yoke. Consider seeing your doc. Sleep on it.
Thank you, Jonathan. The things you learn around here. You may remember the Solar Impulse. We told you about the team who plans to fly around the world using a solar-powered airplane. They're gearing up for a cross-country tour of the United States. Earlier this week, the airplane took one of its first test flights in the country over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The airplane is set to fly across America this year before making the round-the-world jaunt in 2015. And finally this week, imagine having the entire flight deck of a Boeing 707 sitting in your driveway. Now imagine spending a decade making it work with a flight simulator program. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop found a man who did just that and has made a business out of it.
The people coming over here, they look at this, they see the location, they think, wow, what is this?
Inside this box trailer, hidden away on the last row of outside vendors at Sun and Fun, is something special.
And people kind of walk by and they see the posters on the front and they look at the thing and I don't think they really think that this thing's in here.
The thing inside the trailer is a custom-built Boeing 707 simulator, true to every last detail.
This is the way it was.
And here comes your localizer, so left turn.
Art Mayallier built this one-of-a-kind simulator by hand over a decade. Parts came from a Pan Am jetliner, and the throttle quadrant came out of the 707 they blew up in the film Speed. He says he built it because he knew it would be a challenge.
But it was also the airplane that started it all, at least in North America, for all of us that started jet travel and made it happen and possible. Everything else came after this airplane. And so it's a bit of a flying museum.
A flying museum that lets GA pilots get a shot at the heavy iron. Arts company Adventure Sims America charges about $30 for a half-hour experience.
And flaps are going up.
Pilot Doug Guerin is used to something a bit lighter.
I normally fly a Thatcher CX-4 plans-built experimental I built. It's 575 pounds gross weight.
But today, he's flying a simulation between SeaTac and Everett, Washington, controlling a bird with a max gross of 325,000 pounds.
It's so realistic, it's just amazing.
And like everyone else that tried it, he left with a smile on his face.
And rotate.
At Sun and Fun, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
I saw this sim at Sun and Fun, and it really is an impressive device. Looks like a lot of fun. And that's it for this week. We'll see you again next Thursday. Thanks for watching, and go VFR. See ya.